Welcome to Around the Table with Vickie. Welcome to another episode of Around the Table with Vickie. No, thank you for joining us here, and welcome back to another episode of Around the Table with Vickie.
Oh, we have a bigger star with us today, Miss Lou Sierra.
Caitlin Runt, Ward 2 Councilman, Mr. Sterling Wilder.
We've got Tracy Newman with us today.
Women from the Alzheimer's Association, Janine Snyder, Lissa Greenlee. She is the first female lieutenant governor of Virginia.
So cool.
Winsome Sears.
Taylor Musgrave Perkins. I'm super excited to have Dr. Coleman here today.
So Brian Runt, welcome back to the show.
Always glad to be here.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for going on this journey with us. Welcome to Around the Table with Vickie. I'm your co-host, Chris Runk, and our host, the star of the show, my mother, Vickie Runk.
Hi.
And Mom, we're excited because today we're going to do something a little bit different than we've done in any previous show. And we're going to kind of look back on all of our episodes that we've done thus far. And we're kind of going to close out a season. It's been a year.
Can you believe
that? No, that's been hard to imagine.
It's been a lot of people
that we've made it
doors.
this far.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's a lot of incredible guests that have joined us here. But we're going to kind of recap and put a closing. We're going to call it the end of season 1.
Let's do it.
And we're going to look back on some of our favorite moments. We can't get to everything. We don't have enough time for all that. But we are going to highlight some of our featured moments. So, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. Search Around the Table with Vickie. We'll come up, and check us out at VickieTalk.com.
Please do.
But jumping right in on it, Mom, I think we got to start at the very beginning, our very first episode, which was a fun one. That's where I kind of sat down and I asked you, what was your passion? Why did we get started? Was there any moments that kind of stuck out?
For me, it was just being able to share with everybody the real story, because so many people will think that everything was handed to you and, you didn't have to work hard. And so it was really great to just have that airtime to just sit down and say, this is me. And this is why we did what we did, which was truly a calling from God to, our life story is very simple. It's just faith driven. And when doors open, we walk through them. But there's some miraculous stories in there too, to where we know that every perfect gift comes from God, and how wonderful it's been over the last 33 years and now a year on Around the Table with Vickie, to really just sit and watch God's faithfulness to us and his miraculous works that he's done in our lives. And so for me, it was just all of it, just being able to speak, which, I've kind of been quiet for a long, long time and really been encouraged. You need to really tell. How will anybody know what God's done for you unless you tell it? And I know you've encouraged me to do that for so many years, but it's easier to be quiet because then critics can't get to you, which, I don't do well with that.
No, you don't.
So having a safe place to really be able to have the opportunity to share that early story was really, really, it was therapeutic for me, but it was also exciting when I ran into people that said, we didn't know that. And it may have changed an opinion about something that was preformed in their mind. So I think that was the biggest joy for me during those episodes.
Well, I remember once, during that episode specifically, you shed a tear. And we were able to kind of go through and find, kind of your passion. And you always say, take your passion and give it purpose.
That's right.
And we were really able to go down the journey of your passion for seniors and tell a story of when you first kind of knew at age, correct me if I'm wrong, was 12 or 14, something in there.
Yeah.
And you were able to see that senior on at a grocery store.
Yeah.
And you helped them get their groceries out.
Yeah, it was very, it was very vivid for me. And, back then I kind of thought it was a little strange because I didn't want to do things normal kids wanted to do. And my thoughts were always a little higher. And now I know that God was preparing me. And it also, as a mom, you look for those things in your children too. Like, my goodness, that happened when I was so young. What's my children thinking? And then to encourage parents on the show, don't ever discount what God's telling your children to do at such a young age, because it certainly happened with me. But those were precious moments because I got to share it with my own grandfather. That moment with him, he's in heaven now. And just really, those memories were really vivid during that show because I was going back to that time that I felt like God was saying, hey, I got something a little special for you ahead in your life. And looking back, those are really profound moments that just shaped me to who I am today.
I think we might have to go back to some of those stories.
You just like to hear it.
I do. It's I've heard it many times throughout my childhood, but it's still one of our most watched shows that we put out, and I know that's one of the storylines that people talk about the most when they approach you in public.
Yes.
So it was an impactful one.
I think so.
So maybe we'll visit that again
Let's
in
visit
more
again.
depth at some point.
Season 2.
That's right. Season 2, it's coming.
That's right.
So, but transitioning into another episode that was really well received, and that was whenever I had the great opportunity to sit down with you and Dad and discuss entrepreneurship and faith in business. And that was a big episode. That was a 4-parter.
Yeah, and since then, and a lot of people don't know what happens after those shows air and goes on radio here locally. For those that are watching by podcast, we've been able to use that story to really be able to not only, minister to people, again, about God's faithfulness, because that's the storyline in all of this, but to also be able to help. And so we've, had some locals, that have made individual appointments with your dad and I, and we've been able to help them on their journey of entrepreneurship, and looking back, we know that God was in that because, we were able to share specific things that would help this couple as they came to us and say, hey, do you have any advice? It was a 2-hour meeting right here in our office. And we felt like the Lord really ordained that. He knew when we put that show out that these folks were going to need some consulting. And if nothing else, to just be their friend. And in the world of entrepreneurship, which we've all experienced, is the highs and lows. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. Because when you're in a valley, inevitably you're going to go to the mountaintop and then again to the valley. So you just start to, experience that and expect it. And for those that were younger in entrepreneurship, the road that your dad and I have walked has been somewhat of a inspiration to them. So absolutely, the public, our listeners, has what's been such a payback for me. The time that we spent on this, the development of the show, and of course, you and your team, and now we're sitting in a whole new beautiful space that's twice as big as what we had.
I'm telling you, season 2, get ready for it. Bigger and better.
Better equipment that I know the guys behind the scenes here are excited about because it makes their job easier. So we are so appreciative to the listeners because, without them, there's no message because if they can't hear it, we can't say it. So again, WLNI, that's the other station.
Virginia Talk Radio.
There you go. They've been very instrumental in getting the message out. So we're thankful.
And I think that's what's so cool about the radio is, we set and we plan and we write these shows, but we never know the impact that they may have. And like you mentioned, that one couple, I mean, just one person.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. I know one highlight out of that 4-part episode. We sat on the couch at that time. Now we're around the table. But
your dad wants to come back because it's a new spot.
We'll have him back.
That's right.
But I know one thing that kind of stood out that a lot of people talked about was they didn't realize that the statement was made that that you and Dad started with just a $10,000 loan.
Right.
And that's how Runk & Pratt was formed.
Yeah.
So that was always a highlight in a clip that I think resounded with people.
Oh, yeah.
It just shows you that at that time, I know that was a decent amount of money, but I don't think anybody would probably realize or believe that at this point in time.
No, it was just part of God's plan. And so when you say those kind of words, and that catches people's attention, right?
Sure.
That's what lets them know, my goodness, when they say it's a faith-based kind of journey and that God opened big doors, when you make those kinds of statements, it was Nana and Papa that put in $5,000, and then your dad and I put in $5,000. And so, looking back on that now, 33 years where we are now, it would be almost impossible to think that that's possible. But I'm here to tell you, and we talk about it all the time, all things are possible with the God that we serve, and how great it is to be able to talk about that with everyone and to just be an encouragement.
So, Mom, moving to the next episode, this was fun because one of our goals on the show was to highlight community leaders and businesses in our local community that were making an impact and just help get the word out. I mean, you come across a lot of really great people who are doing extraordinary things, and that was one of our goals on the show. And I think back to our episode with Jordan Ayers and Taylor Musgraves.
Yeah, that was fun.
And Taylor Musgrave Perkins. And we highlighted Jordan's Renewed conference and Taylor's new business called Cravables.
That's right.
And they were opening up their first shop at that time. And I think she's going to come back and join us on season 2 at some point and give us an update on how that's going.
That'll be exciting to see where God's brought her.
But I know you actually got to speak at the Renewed conference that Jordan held. So tell us a little bit about that.
You know, Jordan, I've watched her kind of come into her faith walk. And I've watched her go through some really hard times in life. And so just to be able to share this part of her ministry that she was developing early on. And since then, she's written a devotional book. Growth. And you help run the sound for that little group that comes over. She's coming again to the hotel in season 2. And I think for me, it was just, those were 2 young women that has said, Lord, use me. And we needed the public to know that they needed to go out and support them. And so for Jordan in particular, she's a wonderful young lady that works with public safety. She's a paramedic. She works for Campbell County. And that alone is spectacular, right? And then to add on the fact that she's decided to, stand up for what she believes in her community. And she has Bible studies and life groups that she's doing with really broken women. And man, that just resonated to me. Let me give her a hand up and let's give her a space at the hotel for her to do these ministry gatherings. And so it was a great time. We had, right around 50, 75 women there in the ballroom, and to stand in the back and watch, these broken lives that she had been ministering to, really praising the Lord and giving, honor to him that night, and coming around her to support her as their leader in that group was quite overwhelming. I mean, you were there too.
It was, I always, it was a great joy to be able to help out and run sound and use my talent in that area, lighting, sound, all that great stuff. It's a lot of fun for me. But like you said, it was super impactful, And
then jumping to Taylor, I've watched her, we drive by that little ice cream shop all the time, and our residents actually go, and there's special needs children and special needs older adults now serving in there and being a part of it, and they're employees and they're getting paid, and she's created a space for these special needs older adults. Now adults, they were children. She taught some of them in her classes, and now they're of age to be able to work. And the community needed to know that she was getting ready to do something really great with that. So helping get that started and get the word out. I think she had one of the most viewed podcast series that we've been, able to air.
And listen, her follower base is faithful to her.
So she's a star in her own right.
She is a star.
And then we were able to give her a little check, a donation right on the show.
I know that was special for you.
And it was special for me. She didn't expect it, of course, but I wanted her to know we supported her. We were there on ribbon cutting day.
I was getting ready to ask you. You actually got to attend the ribbon cutting, so you got to see all the children out front, and the parking lot was full.
Just packed.
I know we barely found a spot to park.
Yeah, and she's going to tell you that she just bought a new ice cream truck. I know she is. I follow her on social media, and she's going to just let us know some great things that are happening. Again, a God-called story that we were able to highlight right here around the table.
That's what it's all about. Jumping in on another great show, building a better community with the one and only Dr. Sterling Wilder. Tell us some of your highlights from that show. I know you and Sterling are really close, and you think very fondly of him.
What I love so much about Sterling, and talking about the Jubilee Center, you were able to bring out, how did it get started? How did it get its name? And again, people in the community don't know that. The Jubilee Center is on WSET occasionally for fundraisers that WSET is doing with our local news stations here, and people don't know how it got started, who Sterling is, his education level. Late in life, he got his doctorate and he belongs and pastors a church here locally, and he's a part of our city council, and he's working really hard in the grassroots efforts of making his community great. And I love to be able to give him that time to share. Of course, we do a lot with Miss Virginia Volunteer in the Little Princess program. We let about 6 or 7 Jubilee princesses come on stage every year, where a major designer donates a beautiful dress to those little girls who would otherwise not have the opportunity to do that. So we feel like we're helping change lives for those little young women right there with Sterling. They've been a wonderful resource for us to do volunteer hours and to clock those volunteer hours for all of our Miss Virginia volunteer girls. Even the ones that are not state title holders will go down and spend their time. So I just loved being able to, for the community to see what I see in Sterling and to hear his story, which was wonderful.
Well, just the story of the Jubilee Center. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I grew up playing
You did?
AAU basketball there, so to go back
You
into
got
this
whooped
space.
on that court sometime.
Well, why we got to bring that up?
Yes, you did.
Okay, all right. But you know, just to go back and, like you said, we get to visit with those children, and sometimes even take over some donations and furniture and some stuff like that, just to help them out and see their face light up when our pageant queens go over.
Yeah, they presented me with a great honor a couple months after that show, and I was able to go down and receive that award. And those little princess, you know what was so special? They had those little princess girls lined up waiting for me when I walked through that door, and they all had their princess dresses on, and that was intentional. You know, that was letting me know you're making a difference with what you're doing here. And I just play a very small part. There's people that do a whole lot more for them than what we do. So the fact that they're able to give back to me, you know, with that love and that admiration of, you know, thank you for what you're doing for our girls. That was such a special night for me. I got to sit right on the front row and hear the 25-year jubilation ceremony and hear some of the children sing. And there's nothing I love to do better than to invest in organizations that are making a huge impact. And he is certainly doing that.
You know, jumping to the next show. I can't think of a more appropriate show. You spearhead so much in our local community for fundraising for the Alzheimer's Association. Runkin Pratt has probably raised over $400,000 or more throughout your time in the industry, and contributed back to the local Alzheimer's support groups, and led the walk inside Windhurst.
And that was a very meaningful talk for me, because they were able to put some scientific data out for our listeners to really know that there's hope on the horizon. You know, and I hear all about the new drugs that are coming out, you know, really great things that are coming down the pike that we hope with this new administration is going to release some more fund dollars for our research, and we're going to get it in the right direction. You know, there's so much big pharma going on with controlling how many drugs are released, and we need to, our country needs to get away from that right now. We need to think about the victims of Alzheimer's disease. And I've been that voice for, goodness, 33 years with Runkin Pratt and 5 years previous to that. So I've been with the Alzheimer's grassroots efforts here for almost 38 years, and I've seen the transformation of medication changes and how it is helping. And most of all, the education that the Alzheimer's Association gives to families and the support groups that, you know, we can get them involved in. So that was special for me to have them here, and we want to have them back in season 2 as well.
What was great to also hear from them is the voice of hope, and hearing them, some of the advancements that they were studying and finding for the disease.
Absolutely.
Whether it was drugs or different therapies. So I know that.
Foods, the different diets. They talked about the Mediterranean diet. Now it's so important to keep certain nutrients, flowing to the brain. And those are things that just normal people that don't have that in their life, but they will eventually experience it with a family member. You know, listening to that show will pique the interest of, it's time now for me to do something with my health and my diet, and if it runs in your family and genetically and all those things, just to bring awareness to that day on that show was really important to me.
Jumping in on a fun one, we had the national title holder from Miss Volunteer America.
Yes, we
and
did.
At the time, probably just 2 days prior to the episode, Haley Ryan Hurst, the newly crowned Miss Virginia volunteer. We had both of them on the show. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, those girls, I had them for 4 or 5 days straight, and they traveled from here to Roanoke to do radio shows, got on the Amtrak, and did their thing with supporting all of our sponsors and different things in the community. And they went from daylight to dark, so I went from daylight to dark. But what a thrill it was to have Berkeley Bryant, the reigning Miss Volunteer America, here with us, and just to watch these young ladies. They're so special, and they excel in all things. You know that these pageant girls are strong
Crazy
women,
talented.
incredible. And then to just have Haley here with us, just been crowned during that time, was special, because we were able to form a bond, and that has carried us now throughout this entire year. She's getting ready to go compete for that $50,000 scholarship in June, and what a wonderful young lady. What a light she's been in our family. And so it was great to have them on the show.
Talk a little bit about just what the national pageant and our state pageant supports with St. Jude's and the Salvation Army.
Yeah, and that's something, I've known about the Salvation Army ever since I was able to be able to read and understand. They've been around for longer than we have. But to really dive into this with Haley, because it's part of her, part of what she needs to do for the national pageant is to support Salvation Army. And then she's the state ambassador. And to watch her go to so many different states now. She didn't just stay in Virginia. She went to Oklahoma. She went to Texas. She's been in D.C., spreading the news about how great the Salvation Army is. And I was able to tour with her at several different Salvation Armies. And the thing that stood out to me was when we went to Columbus, Georgia, and we went down and toured there in the precinct down there. I learned so much about why we need to support Salvation Army. And so we just did a big fundraiser for Salvation Army, and it really has turned on a light for me to personally have an interest in that as well. So, kudos to that. And of course, St. Jude's, she was able to visit the head place in the hospital in Memphis, and just to see those children and what all St. Jude's does for families. Again, it's been educating me. So newfound loves in my life that Haley will leave me as she leaves her title in August with memories that'll just be precious forever.
I know a fun fact for me was I didn't realize, and I probably just was not knowing ignorant about this, but I didn't know the Salvation Army was actually a church.
Oh, I know. And Roanoke, is one of the head, for human trafficking. We were able to tour that. Most people don't get in, but Haley got us in. And the need and oh my goodness, what the public can do for there, just little things that they need. And I mean, it's things we take for granted,
Sure.
like soap and sheets and pillows. And so we plan to have season 2, a lot of informative facts to where the community can do drop-offs for them, and we can deliver them right before the pageant in August. So stay tuned for that.
And talking about the next show, and this was a fun one for me, but getting to host the PDGA World Disc Golf Championship.
That's your world. I should ask you about that. How did you feel about having them right on the couch? I mean, the director of tourism, Margette, and then Nate, who was from the World's Disc Golf Federation himself. I mean, how did you feel being the one? And you were very responsible for bringing $5 million to the city of Lynchburg and surrounding counties during that time, and our Ivy Hill hosted it.
Yeah, I think the exact number of economic impact in Lynchburg and the surrounding counties was $4.7 million. So to hear that, that made me, I had to pinch myself a little. That made me proud, and to be able to do that for the local economy, the local community, bring it all together, something that we worked for honestly 2.5 years of planning, and trying to prove what the Lynchburg community could do for the sport. Paul Macbeth was huge and instrumental in that. There were so many incredible people. Like you mentioned, Margette Upshur with the economic development leader of Lynchburg. She was instrumental. Nate Heinold, I can't say enough great things about him. He's the president of the PDGA, a great friend of mine now. And we had such a wonderful turnout. I think at the all said and done, we had about 12,000 people.
Yes, we did.
On property at Ivy Hill.
Every bit of it.
Over that weekend. So just like I said, getting ready for it, see it all come together, seeing these mass groups of crowds go from hole to hole and really reinvigorate
Hmm.
that golf course and kind of, see what it could look like for
Well, and
these
put a
large
name on
events.
it. I mean, we were told it was one of the best events that they've ever done. And kudos to you and your brother and everybody that put time into it. And I mean, when you first told me that many people would be, literally right outside my door, I wasn't too sure
Get ready
about it.
for it.
But,
We parked everybody
that's
perfectly.
right.
So,
You did.
a shout out to Sheriff Miller and the
Hmm.
Bedford County Sheriff's Department. He was instrumental, did a great job getting everybody in and out safely. We had no incidents, but that was fun, and we had such a great turnout. Like I said, the PDGA loved it so much that we're already on the schedule, and so the Worlds is the biggest event. The Pro Tour, the final stop of the Pro Tour, the championship, is the second largest event in the sport. And I am proud to say that New London Tech and Ivy Hill Golf Course will be hosting that October 16th through the 19th
So I'm sure
this
on
year.
season 2, we'll have
So we'll
another set of people here in this room talking about all of that. So stay tuned.
a good friend of ours and getting to talk some music. That was a little fun. Ula Kalpi
Hmm.
talking about the Lynchburg Symphony Orchestra. Give us some of your thoughts on that, because that was a good one.
That was a good one. Dr. Alan Kalpi is our endocrinologist for our
Hmm.
entire family. He sees everybody but Chandler. So it was great to get to know his wife, who is doing a great thing with the Lynchburg Symphony. And she came to us with a schedule, and we talked about all things music and how that. If you've never really been a symphony person, it's time to get out and just see if you like it, and that you don't have to dress up and you don't always have to wear a tux, that you can just go out for a nice evening. And what a great schedule they've had. And we're big supporters of the Lynchburg Symphony. It was great to have her here.
I remember we got to attend a symphony concert with Charles Billingsley.
Yes.
And I think that maybe was the first time you had heard the Lynchburg Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, they were amazing. And what that did, for Charles's music that night too, it was a different level. And I so enjoyed it. It was right there at Christmas too, right at the Academy here in Lynchburg. And so, just letting the public know that these things are out there. That's what this show is all about, because we want to continue for people, especially seniors, to get off the couch, get out of the house, and go live life while you can and stay connected. And the symphony is just as great of a place to start as I know.
I remember one thing that stood out to me was Ula's choice in music.
Yeah.
I remember her talking about going
Hard
to
rock.
some rock concerts and some metal concerts, and I wasn't expecting that out of the head of the symphony. I was like, oh, okay, all right, we
Yeah.
can jam out.
She's
So that
diverse.
was fun.
Yeah.
Another great show, Mom, was anytime I can sit down on the couch table now, but couch back then. And get Dad on the show. He was saying
He's coming
he
back
was
now
a
that
big
we have a
star,
table.
and yes, he was a big star, and we needed some ratings help, so
That's
we brought
right.
him back, right? But I got to sit down and question you guys with just some common questions that entrepreneurs may face, and how did you guys overcome them?
Right. And some of those were questions that listeners had actually,
Hmm.
written to you and said, we would love to know more about this, and we would love to know more about you. And that was really great, because it wasn't just questions that you came up with necessarily. It was things that we were hearing that people really wanted to know. And that was what was so fun.
VickieTalk.com. You can go
Yeah,
right
was
there.
that we were able to get that information straight into the listeners' ears, and hopefully it did some good. And that was a great show. And anytime we get Dad in here, it is fun.
Another great show, Mom. I know you brought in Jacqueline Timmer
Hmm.
and Dr. Coleman, and this was whenever they were running their campaigns to be elected, and we got to sit down and interview them. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it was two different parties in the room at different times, of course, but they were right behind each other. And so I think that talks about the diversity of the show, that we were able to highlight a Republican candidate and a Democrat that was going for the seat as well, different seats. But it was really great, because Dr. Coleman is a great friend. We actually took care of his parents, and he was able to talk a little bit about that on the show. And it's really great when you hear great things coming out of great people. And so to just, kind of relish in the moment of how much he loved care at Liberty Ridge for his parents, and then go straight into really listening to what his heart was telling him to do on city council. And so he's a pastor as well, and right down in the inner city, and friends with Dr. Sterling. And so it was fun to hear really what he wanted to do for the city. And then for Jacqueline, she's a young mom with a little boy, and she has served with her father, who has done some work in city councils, not on Lynchburg, but wherever they live. And so to hear her stories about what he went through to be in the public limelight of serving our country. It was very interesting. And to know that she had still chosen to put herself out there for Lynchburg City, because even after all the drama that she had lived through in her childhood with her father, and all the hurdles she had faced with the general public and judging and all the critiquing that people do with our elected officials, she still chose to give of herself. And I will say she got elected, and we're proud of her. And she's just learning that balancing act between being a mom and a public official. And I'm just super proud of both of them.
I remember they were able to specifically talk to the camera and to the radio group, and highlight specific concerns or recommendations that they were going to be providing for their wards and their elected areas. And I remember Dr. Coleman said, "I just want to let you. I will fix the potholes." So
Yes.
That one stood out for me.
We have plenty of those.
A dear friend of yours, and jumping on a very fun show. She was incredible, but having the Lieutenant Governor on, Winsome Sears, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, anytime I can sit down with our Lieutenant Governor and just share a few moments with her is fun for me. But to be able to put her in this room and let her look in the camera and tell, the listeners and the viewers why she wants to be the next governor. Then the first female governor of the state of Virginia was overwhelming for me. I was just so happy to be able to give her that 30 minutes. And I mean, she's an all-American story. She's an immigrant from Jamaica and then served in our military, and now served on so many other boards for education and changing things for the better for our children. And now she's in the fight of her life, fighting to be elected to be the first female governor of this great state. And from that moment to now, watching her grow and perfect her skills. And I know she's going to do a great job. And I'm just happy to be a very, very small part of her world. And I just wanted to share with the listeners and the viewers what a great candidate she is. And we continue to support her to this day.
I know it was also a cool moment for us to get the call,
yes.
right? For her to know about the show,
yes.
have interest in the show, and then for her to bring her story to all of our listeners.
Right.
That was a
right.
pretty
And
cool
working with her
for
schedule was crazy, because she was supposed to come a couple weeks prior, but the floods had hit down in Southwest Virginia, and she had to go and be a part of efforts for cleanup and see what Virginia was going to do to aid those folks. And I was proud of her for that. And then we just get a call, and we literally have just 2 days to kind of prepare for her. And you never know if she's going to get called away again for that either. But what a great, strong Christian woman she is. And I'm just super proud to say she's been on this show.
It's pretty cool to say. And, just announcing your Board of Health nomination from the governor. So I know you get to see Winsome here and there in the halls up there at Richmond. So that's pretty cool.
It is.
Jumping back to Ivy Hill, we got to have our director of golf, Tracy Newman, the local legend. You got to know Tracy. If you're in the golf world, you know Tracy Newman. But we got to sit down with him and my brother, and discuss.
The quiet one.
He is the quiet one. He's also the best golfer in the family. I have heard that multiple times since the show air. And
everybody does seem to know that
they
now.
They do know
keep that a secret anymore.
Chandler will whip me on the golf course. But we got to sit down with him and kind of go through the history of Ivy Hill, talk about all the great things that are happening at the golf course, talk about the growth of the golf course. So it was great to have him on and even talk about some future plans for Ivy Hill. But Tracy's a great guy, and I knew he wanted to be on the show too. He's like, "Hey, you think I can get on there?" So
he did a good job. He did a good job. I think he'll probably be back again.
I think he'll be back, and I think we might have to bring Colton King potentially on the show at some point too.
He's tearing it up in some tournaments right now.
He's doing well, and they're just the dynamic duo out there at Ivy Hills. So we're blessed to have them both. And then just a great fun one. The world-renowned supermodel having the power of pageantry with Lou Sierra.
Yeah, and that's something that we did not air on the radio, but it's on podcast. So tell everybody how they find it.
That is a great point. You will have to go check it out if you want to see that, hear it or see it. It is on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. Search Around the Table with Vickie.
Yes. And what's so great about Lou is she's a world-renowned model. She has been with so many big names and really worked hard through her lifetime. She's just turned 61, and she doesn't mind if I tell you that because she's proud of it. Dear friend of mine, coached the Kardashians, worked with President Trump with Miss USA at some point. To have her in the room was just spectacular. She was here in Lynchburg doing some work with our title holders, which is a really big deal in itself. And some other, she works with all systems. So you actually helped her with her iPhone.
I did.
Yeah.
She needed to make a post and put two photos together. And I say, listen, I can do it in 10 seconds. So I put it together, and that's amazing.
Yeah, so. She lives in New York, and she still does so much. She makes aging look like something we all want to do.
She's incredible.
She's just very vogue and chic. And what's so great about Lou is she has her own faith journey that she'll share with you if you ask her. And she's a really good role model for these young ladies. She believes in the power of prayer. She believes in faith. And that's what I share so deeply with her. And so it was a big deal for her to walk through this door.
It was a powerful show. She's a strong woman. You're a strong woman. When you got both of those together, I pretty much just started the show and sat back on the couch and let y'all go at it.
We had a good time, and she's expressed that she wants to come back, so we will definitely do that.
And a great thing about Lou is that she has a great social media following. So that was one of our bigger episodes to blow up as well.
We boosted.
I mean, I was watching it. Next thing you know, you're being shared by Miss Japan and Miss Thailand and all that. It's cool to watch all that happen. But one thing that Lou brought up that I never even thought about, talking about her coaching, that I thought was pretty interesting, is not only in pageantry, but just the ability for needing to coach corporations.
Yes.
And specifically, she works with women.
She does.
But
on
how to
dress and how to enter a room, how to command a room, how to be a powerful woman sitting at a table, and what to do and what not to do. I know she shared a lot of really great things with me for the last 3 years, and it's very helpful. And she has coached and dressed some of the highest positions for women. And again, we're just super blessed to have had her.
Well, I think that's a wrap on the recap. There was a tremendous. It was a fun to go on this journey with you on the
I've forgotten some of that. It's
first
fun.
year, Mom. I think there's a bright future ahead of you.
There better be. We have a brand new room.
We put a lot of money into it, a lot of incredible time and incredible people behind the scenes. I can't speak enough great things about all the people behind the scenes that make this happen. So thank you for all that. You know who you are. But we're excited to go on the next season's journey. So stay tuned, stay involved, like, subscribe, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. All those things mean a lot to us. So if you could do that. Write to us at VickieTalk.com. Leave us a review. That's always great too. But we're excited for season 2, and we hope you are too. And stay tuned and keep all the good comments and vibes coming.
Until next season, which is really not that far away.
Next week. We're
so glad to be a part of your life with you. And we're so hopeful that what we do here on the show is helpful to you. We love you all, and thank you so much for your support. And until next time, I'm Vickie, right here around the table.